is Femi. I study anthropology and visual practice at Goldsmith University. I'm from Nigeria and I'm 19 years of age.
My name is Deji Onwufo and I'm 22 years old and I'm a professional digital sculptor.
My name is Oge. I am 19 years old. I'm from Nigeria but based in London, born and raised in London, and at the moment I'm a law undergraduate at the University of Leicester.
Hi, my name is Abora. I'm a student at Goldsmiths studying politics in my second year. I'm 20. I'm from Lagos, Nigeria originally.
My name is Grace Osofisan and I'm 21 years old.
Aisha, I'm 21, born in London and I'm Somali.
Well, yeah, definitely. Being born here, the times that I went back, there was culture shock to say the least. It was a really hard transition. They'd always make fun of me. Londona, Ajabata, all that stuff. But eventually, I got good enough at it. That I could blend in to a point. There's always still that factor being born in the UK when talking to countrymen. Being immersed in it for long enough definitely got me past being used to it and now actually loving it. Every time now I've noticed someone asks me where I'm from. Normally I'd say I'm from London. Now I say I'm from Nigeria. I've adapted enough. I've broken through that barrier enough to the point that I'm proud of it. You understand?
I was made aware of the shade I was until I came here. I only thought that there was just black and white. I realized that I was considered a really dark skin when I came here. I was called things like blick, and it kind of shocked me. Quite confusing. It has been confusing in the past because it's a mixture of identities, and at some points I haven't known where I fit in because I felt as if I don't really fully fit in here and I don't fit in over there anymore. But I've learned to accept that I'm African and to move on with that.
Okay. There is a definite difference in growing up in Nigeria and growing up here. I think I have that duality, and it's like having a black and white reference to take from and therefore form and forge your own life as you grow up. But growing up in Nigeria is definitely different. I came here at the age of 10. I went to school, studied hard, had tutors at home trying to teach me, because I wasn't very good at maths, they wanted to teach me maths and stuff like that. But then as I came here, you had that freedom that a young kid was not supposed to have, at that age, to do whatever you want. You had the internet. Internet was something new to me. I didn't even know what a computer was. I didn't know how to use one. The only computer that was in Nigeria was like a massive, brick computer that was utilized by everyone else, and sometimes you never even got to use. So I came here, there was the internet, there was phones, there was freedom to speak to teacher, back and do whatever you want. There was freedom in calling the teacher by names, by first names, and which I was never able to do. I used to call them sir. They were like, "Oh, why don't you can say my name, my name is Paul." I'm like, no, yes sir. So I could not, get out of the cultural innatism that was, put into me as I was young, respecting people older than you, not calling them by their names. But it was definitely different, coming here, the cold, the food, everything was different. But that's the good thing about having two different worlds you can learn from.
So back back home, because I do have a British accent, I'd say, but I can use my Nigerian accent if I wanted to. But I do have a British accent, so it is kind of hard communicating with them, especially when I didn't know my language. It was a lot harder, but I do understand Igbo, so I am Igbo. I'm from Imo State, Nigeria. But I still feel like there was common ground in the fact that I was raised in an African home. So although we were in London, yeah, we'd eat Nigerian food, we'd go to Nigerian events, our church was predominantly Nigerian. So I did have that upbringing, despite the fact that I was brought up in London. Of a cultural imbalance, I'd say there was just a slight difference, but not much to hinder any conversation I could have with a person. Kedu Ahambo Ogechi. Oh, it means hello, my name is Ogechi. I don't know how to say 9 because I've forgotten my numbers, but Abum Afo Iri Na I think it's Itolu. Yeah, I'm 19.
I find it quite hard because even though I'm Somali and I was born here, I guess because of that actually it's complicated things a lot more because I wouldn't really belong there and I can't really belong here. I'm always kind of like in limbo, and I find that hard to explain because it's something that I think about all the time, but I guess unless you're really, the only time you can really understand it, if you can relate to it, is when you're going through it yourself, I guess. Like for example, I forced myself to speak Somali. Like I remember I started off with jokes and just humour at first because there's a lot of words and I guess sentences I knew from when I was younger because my mum used to speak to me in Somali and I used to reply in English, but I've kind of forced myself to retain that because that's part of my identity and I'm always thinking about my identity. But as well as that, living in London, you have so many subcultures, and because of that, there's no place on earth you can really belong completely. There's no one country I can feel like is home, but I don't mind being that traveller kind of person, being in limbo. I guess it will just push me to explore more, but yeah.
I think what is stopping me from being authentically Nigerian is the language. I really love it. I just feel like everyone's always like, oh, Yoruba is such a musical language. There's always bass. You can't say something in Yoruba and there needs to be life in when you're speaking it. And I really admire that about our language. And I just really wish that I could speak it fluently. I can understand bits and parts of it, but I'd love to just let it roll off my tongue, just speak it with others. So I try to hear words when I listen to music. So even some words I may not understand it and I'll go and ask my mum, oh mum, what did this mean? Or just search things up and stuff. I don't really have a particular favourite Afrobeats, but the one that I can think of is dun 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 dun. Apart from language, I think cooking it as well, cooking the food. I know everyone knows how to make plantain, come on. But just more stuff what do you call it? One of my favorites. It's called, is it ayemache or ayeshimache? I don't know how to pronounce it, but I love it so much. I would love to cook it. Oh my gosh, if I could make it, I'd be yes.
So recently I was talking to my dad and he was telling me how he came to this country, and it was just, I've never really asked him before because you deal with what's going on now, you don't really deal with the past. And it was interesting because he was talking about how he was he was about to complete his university in education in Somalia, and it was before it got bad. I don't want to really say anything politically correct. I'll just stay away from that. But for now, but he was just telling me how it was to do with health.
There's always something my dad says. He says a word is known for the wise. He always uses that quote when I did something wrong, and he tells me, "Oh, I did wrong," and tries to correct me. And then he goes on, tells me about his story about how he was young and he left home at the age of 15, went to uni himself, went to college himself, had to study, had to fend for himself, the struggles that he's going through. And I take it in and I listen. My brother's like, yeah, but that's not us though. That's not what we're going through. Like, they always compare us. But the thing is, I understand where it's coming from. Everyone has a struggle, individually, spiritually, physically. Everyone has some sort of struggle. But it seems that when you're African, it seems that the whole world is upside down, like the whole world is against you, and so you have to struggle twice as hard, and twice, work 3 times as hard, prove yourself 4 times as hard, just to show them that you actually exist. So that's the same thing. I mean, my parents, my mom was a banker before she came here. Now she's a cleaner. It takes a great deal and takes a great strength to humble yourself, to come here and say, okay, I'm going to work as a cleaner. Why? Because I'm trying to make a better future for my child. That's the only driving force. I mean, they tell me, oh, I'd like to go back home, but I've still got a younger brother that needs to go to school, uni. I'm the oldest, so therefore they can't go home yet. But it's that same thing that you have to, that struggle is in you, and you adopt it. You don't do it intentionally, but it's adopted by the kids. It's not something that's harmful if you don't let it be harmful. It's something that strengthens you. It's something that makes you a much better person. And so when you adopt that, you have to nurture that struggle and therefore take it with you. Take it, it's like a child, take it to play, take it, teach it things, and therefore let it not ruin you, but let it carry on your own legacy, and therefore you become who you were supposed to be. And so that's what the struggle tells you, and that's what the struggles that they tell you about, that's what it's supposed to do. And that's why they tell it to you. They don't mean it to rub the hardness, the sadness onto you, but just to polish you as a person, polish you as a black person. That's the aim of them telling you the struggle, of them always comparing their own past to yours, to always telling you about your mistake, always trying to get you to study, even though studying is not what you want to do. Always trying to make you say that education is key, even if education isn't for everyone. Always trying to get to uni, even if uni isn't for everyone. But in the end, the aim is to stamp, your feet and take one step forward to becoming who you are as a person. If you don't do that, you become lost. When you become lost, you can't find yourself again. And that's where they, as a parent, feel like they've not done properly, not done well, and you have to rethink what mistakes you've made by not actually letting the struggle help you, rather than letting it hinder you. So I think that's the main thing.
Okay, well, my mum, she actually, I guess I would say she got the good end of the deal, because she was actually born here as well. So in a way, I'm second generation. But my father, he came straight from a village in Imo State, straight here to London. He was already in his early 20s, and I remember him talking to me about how, I guess he experienced what I experienced reverse, the culture shock, having to learn English, and it was really, really hard, Back then they didn't have the benefits that they have now for people in those types of situations. So had to really, really humble himself just to eat, you know. Be willing to accept any job really to do what he had to do because of how hard it was for him adapting to just the new atmosphere of the UK from a village in Nigeria. But he made it through eventually, and he is where he is now.
Yes, I had this conversation with my parents way too often as a child, so much so that they sent each of, so I am the third child out of 4, and they sent all of us individually to Nigeria. So my senior sister and senior brother went for 3 years, then me and my younger brother went for 2 years, so that we can experience the struggle, because they tell us, yeah, back home it's this and this, and when you come back it's different. So they sent us to Nigeria so that we can experience what it's like back there, and I actually thank them for it. It has helped me a lot as a person. It has made me grow as a person, so I do thank them. And it's been like, it was an amazing experience as well for me. So I did learn a bit of Igbo, and yeah, I learned so much about my family and about my culture, so I've really enjoyed my time there. I'm glad I went, and hopefully maybe after I graduate I'll go back and practice law.
So yeah, both of my parents struggled, as I said, and it doesn't sound like a nice, pretty story, not like a Cinderella story where like, oh, you know, blah, 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 you went through this and that. And then someone came and rescued you. No, they had to rescue themselves. And, you know, it's still hard now, so.
I will always be grateful for my parents because even if I'm a minority, I'm always going to be more privileged than a lot of other people because of what they've given to me and helped me get. For example, I could say a lot of my thoughts and the way I think come from my mum, thought processes. Like, for example, I wouldn't want to, you know, that whole thing where it's kind of glamorized to, I've heard a lot of girls saying this, and I kind of find it cringy because I wouldn't do this because of, I guess, I have a conviction not to, because it's very strong because of my mum and how much she's such a strong woman. She's basically, one thing I've always grown up around is like, don't make things for yourself. You don't need to depend on a man to get you something. And I've always thought that too. I've always thought I want to get it for myself instead of, I guess, relying on another human being. It doesn't matter if they're a guy or a girl, another human being to get something, because it's better to work for something than to get it from someone else, than that gain. And it's kind of glamorized, and I don't agree with that myself.
If my parents are watching this, I just want them to know that I love them like so much. You know, it's times when you there's so many times in life where your belief that you actually grasp the language that you speak will be shattered, and one of those times for me is trying to explain to my parents how much I love them. You know, it's in those scenarios where English just fails you because it just cannot, you know, quantify a feeling like that. But I do love my parents. That's basically it. If they're watching.
A message from my parents would be, thank you for not typically letting your the idea of being African change and, you know, diminish yourself as an African. So there's this idea of how African people are, you know, stereotypes that, you know, okay, every kid of mine has to be a doctor, every, you know, kid of mine has to be an engineer, every kid of mine is not allowed to play sports, every kid of mine is not allowed to do these things that, you know, don't have any future in it, to be artistic, to express themselves, because they have no future, because they're not making money. I thank them for eradicating the idea of money equaling happiness they know that, and that's what they teach properly, and that's what they've told me. I mean, they always fall into that typical, stereotypical African parent, you know, sometimes saying, but famous is going to take you, what money you're going to make. But then again, comes all down to that, you know, as long as you're happy, as long as you do what you're happy with, as long as you're doing what you do best, there's no way people will not know about it. There's no way people will not appreciate it. There's no way you will not be happy. And so I thank them with that, and making my good better, my better best. And until then, I will never rest.
I'd say thanks for being good role models and showing that hard work and determination pay.
What I would like to tell my parents is that don't go through life with regret. I know I'm young and I haven't experienced anything, but I feel like tradition is good when tradition is good, but when tradition is so routinely and like to the point where it can be like bondage and like a routine thing where it restricts you from living, I just want my parents to live life beyond what they know, like be willing to experience new things and not just to like, you know, do the routine things, like just live. I don't know how to say, I'm not really good with words, but I just really want my parents to live life, you know.
So yeah, shout out to Africanus magazine. See, the thing about that magazine, they've been repeating a mantra that I've been repeating on my own side of the globe, which is take back the right to tell your own stories. Okay? We can't be asking, insert X, person to tell your story. They're not invested. So this thing that a lot of people are doing, lots of black people, lots of African people are doing, taking their own story, their own narrative back into their own hands, because they know that it is only them that will do it justice, and I love that Africanus magazine that's basically their mantra.
Africanus magazine.
Yeah, thank you. I would like to give a quick shout out to Africanus magazine for giving me the opportunity to express myself, to tell you a bit of myself, what I went through, what a lot of people of my skin color, of my age, of my position are going through, and it means a lot, and this is something that's very important.
Shout out to Africanus magazine, whoop whoop!
A huge, huge shout out to Africanus magazine and everything they're doing for black people in the UK, around the world, and a huge shout out to Biola for everything she's done so far, and I hope the magazine goes further.